Elias Trent adjusted his helmet and stepped out of the landing shuttle. The landscape of Drakkara stretched before him in a riot of colors that no human sky had ever seen. The sun here wasn't just golden. It shimmered with green and blue hues that danced across the clouds. Mountains floated in the distance, their bases shrouded in mist, and streams of glowing water ran like veins through the forests below. Elias had explored many worlds, but none had felt quite alive like this one. He checked his equipment, making sure all sensors and scanners were working. His mission was simple, at least in words. Observe the wildlife, record environmental data, and report any unusual activity back to the human settlement near the equator. But something in his gut told him that this planet had secrets, and they were not going to reveal themselves easily. As he moved through the thick glowing grass, he heard a sound that made him freeze. It was a deep rumble, vibrating through the ground and into his bones. At first, he thought it was a quake, but the pattern didn't match any tectonic activity he had recorded. Then he saw them. Shapes moving in the sky, enormous, with wings that seemed to shimmer with energy. Dragons, real, living dragons, as massive as the shuttle he had arrived in, with scales that glowed faintly under the strange sunlight. Elias had read about alien life that resembled mythological creatures from Earth's history, but seeing it in person was different. The dragons weren't just creatures. They were intelligent, and something about their eyes made him feel like they were studying him as much as he was studying them. He wanted to keep his distance, but before he could step back, a ripple of thought invaded his mind. It wasn't words exactly, but feelings and images, direct, clear, impossible to ignore. Help us. Elias stumbled backward, unsure if he was imagining things. The dragons circled above, their wings beating slowly, but with purpose. Then another wave of thought came, stronger, more insistent. Help us. The Zerak take. We suffer. The name Zerak meant nothing to Elias, but he knew instinctively that this was serious. He had been trained for encounters with alien life, but telepathy was new even for him. He raised his hand slowly in a gesture of peace. I want to help, he said aloud, even though he knew they might not need his words. The dragons responded with a ripple through the air, a kind of vibration that seemed like approval. One of them descended, landing with a thunderous crash that made the ground shiver beneath his boots. It was the largest of the herd, scales glittering in hues of blue and gold. Its eyes were intelligent, aware, and fixed on him. Another wave of thought hit him, not just a request this time, but a flood of images. A shadow moved across the planet, sucking the life from forests and rivers, draining energy from the very ground. The dragons were weakening. They could not fight it alone. Elias swallowed hard. This was beyond observation or study. This was a call to action. He didn't know exactly what he could do, but he knew humans had something the dragons didn't. Ingenuity, adaptability, the ability to create tools and think in ways no other species might expect. "I'll help you," he said again, with more confidence this time. The dragons reacted immediately, their wings spreading wide as if to welcome him into something larger than himself. One dragon, smaller than the first but still massive, approached and nudged his shoulder with a scaled snout. The gesture was gentle, almost affectionate. Elias could feel the warmth of its intention. Over the next hours, he learned to communicate in ways beyond speech. The dragons conveyed information through images, feelings, and raw data-like visions of the Zerak's destruction. He saw them draining energy from the planet, absorbing life forms into strange devices that pulsed with unnatural light. Elias realized that this wasn't just a threat to dragons, it could destroy the human settlement as well. He set up his equipment near the dragons' nesting area, careful not to disturb them, but eager to learn as much as he could. He used portable scanners to study the energy fluctuations the dragons projected, combining it with his own data. Slowly, he began to understand patterns in the Zerak's movements. They weren't mindless. They adapted, shifted, and learned. Direct confrontation would be dangerous, maybe suicidal. The dragon seemed to sense his thoughts as he worked. The largest one, who now let him approach closely, lowered its head, eyes watching his hands as he adjusted a scanner. Elias felt a strange connection to this creature. He could imagine its frustration, its fear, its determination to protect its herd. Somehow he understood that his ability to think quickly, to improvise, might be the key to saving them. Night fell, and the twin moons of Drakkara cast silver-blue light across the landscape. Elias huddled near a small camp he set up, but sleep was difficult. The images of the Zerak's devastation kept replaying in his mind. He thought about the dragons' lives, the forests, the rivers, the energy veins glowing beneath the surface. They depended on him now, in ways he had never experienced before. The next morning, Elias followed the dragons to a valley where the energy depletion was most severe. He saw rivers that were once glowing now dimmed, forests that shimmered with life now muted. The dragons landed carefully, wings folding around them protectively, as if shielding the land from further damage. Elias moved among them, analyzing the patterns of the depletion. He realized that the Zerak harvested energy not randomly, but systematically. Their devices synchronized with the planet's natural energy flows, almost like they had studied Drakkara for centuries. Stopping them required more than brute force. It required strategy, creativity, and perhaps a little luck. As he worked, one of the smaller dragons nudged him toward a cliff overlooking a deep chasm. Images flashed in his mind, what looked like a Zerak probe, scanning the area, searching for weaknesses. Elias's heart raced. If these creatures could anticipate the movements of the dragons, they could easily trap them. He needed a plan. Using his portable equipment, Elias started experimenting. He combined human technology with the dragon's natural energy emissions, creating signals and decoys that could confuse the Zerak. The dragons watched intently, wings twitching, as he explained his plan in the only way they could understand, through thought, intention, and gesture. It was difficult. He was still learning how to synchronize with their telepathic communication, and any mistake could put both himself and the dragons at risk. But slowly, patterns emerged. The dragons responded to his instructions, adjusting the way they emitted energy, how they positioned themselves across the valley. Elias felt a thrill of hope. Maybe, just maybe, they could fight back. Suddenly, a shadow passed over them, darkening the valley. Elias looked up and froze. A swarm of the Zerak drones descended, their shapes unlike any living creature, metallic and alien, with pulsating cores that drained light and energy from the ground below. The dragons growled and roared, wings beating furiously, but the drones moved with terrifying precision. Elias acted without hesitation. Using his portable devices, he projected an energy shield and a signal pattern to interfere with the drones' coordination. The dragons followed his lead, adjusting their energy flows to enhance the disruption. For a moment, the drones faltered, circling as if confused. Elias saw an opening and signaled the largest dragon to strike, sending a surge of energy toward the intruders. The drones scattered, retreating faster than they had arrived. The valley trembled with the dragon's roars, a sound that Elias realized was more than a warning. It was a declaration. The dragons had allies now, and that ally was human. After the battle, Elias walked among the dragons, feeling the warmth of their gratitude. He understood something crucial. He was small and fragile compared to them, but his mind, his creativity, and his courage gave him power they respected. He was a bridge between two species, and the survival of both depended on him. As the sun rose over the glowing forests, Elias looked out at Drakkara with a sense of awe. This planet was alive, beautiful, and under threat. The dragons had chosen him, but he also realized that in helping them, he had discovered something about himself. He was capable of more than he had ever imagined, and somewhere in the depths of the forests, he felt the Zerak watching, calculating, waiting. The real challenge was only beginning. Elias Trent woke to the soft glow of Drakkara's twin moons, filtering through the translucent leaves above. The dragons had already been moving, their massive wings brushing against the treetops as they patrolled the valley. Despite the night's battle, they seemed calm now, but their tension lingered in the air like a thick fog. Elias rubbed his eyes and climbed to his feet. Today he had work to do. The Zerak drones had been pushed back, but Elias knew they would return. They weren't careless. They had studied the planet and its inhabitants, and now they understood that someone, a human, was interfering. He had seen the confusion in their movements, the momentary hesitation, and he knew that was his advantage. But to win, he needed more than improvisation. He needed a plan, a strategy, and the dragon's full cooperation. The largest dragon, the one Elias had come to think of as Titan, landed near him. Its scales glimmered in the pale moonlight, and its deep eyes met his. A wave of thought flowed into his mind. "We trust you. Show us the way." Elias nodded, though he doubted Titan could see it. "I will. But we need to prepare." He set to work, using his portable devices to analyze the energy patterns the Zerak left behind. The drones had not been random. They followed precise coordinates, draining energy from the planet in organized swaths. Elias realized that if he could predict their paths, he could set traps, disrupt their systems, and perhaps even drive them off entirely. The dragons watched him carefully, their massive heads tilting as he explained his intentions in thought images. They were quick learners, but this was different from anything they had ever encountered. Humans thought in patterns that were unpredictable, and Elias's mind jumped from one idea to another, testing, adjusting, imagining. "I think we can use your energy in a new way," he projected toward Titan. "You can amplify it, channel it through my devices, and confuse the drones. If we coordinate, we can make them hesitate, even retreat." The dragon's eyes narrowed, and then slowly it nodded. Or at least, that was the impression Elias received. The smaller dragons gathered around him, curious and cautious. They moved as a group, wings brushing against each other, forming a protective circle around their human ally. Elias felt the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. Failure was not an option. He spent hours calibrating his devices with the dragon's energy output. By the time the first sunbeam broke across the horizon, he had created a system that could project interference pulses, confusing the Zerak drone's sensors and navigation. It was delicate work. One miscalculation, one wrong frequency, and the devices could either fail completely or harm the dragons themselves. Titan nudged him with its snout, as if asking for reassurance. Elias reached out and pressed a hand against the dragon's scaled cheek. "We'll do this together. We can win." After breakfast, a mix of nutrient packs and energy capsules that Elias had brought, he led the dragons to a ridge overlooking a valley that had been heavily drained by the Zerak. The energy veins in the ground glowed faintly, struggling to maintain their usual brilliance. Elias set up a series of devices along the ridge, positioning them like beacons. Each one was tuned to interact with a specific dragon's energy signature. He turned to the dragons. "When I signal, emit energy in pulses, but only as I direct. Timing is everything." They understood. Titan lifted its wings, and the others followed, circling in formation. Elias's heart pounded. This was the first coordinated effort against the Zerak. He was a human, fragile compared to these enormous beings, yet his mind held the key. The first drone appeared without warning, a glinting shape against the morning sky. It moved with a mechanical grace, scanning the valley below. Elias activated the devices, sending a pulse through Titan's energy stream. The effect was immediate. The drone faltered, its sensors firing erratically as if confused. The dragons reacted instantly. They adjusted their flight paths, weaving in and out of the pulses, creating a pattern of light and energy that overwhelmed the drone's programming. Elias guided them, thinking rapidly, his mind jumping from one solution to the next. The drone tried to retreat, but more pulses intercepted its path. It collided with one of the energy barriers, staggering, then fell back, emitting a shrill warning signal. The dragons circled triumphantly, wings slicing through the air, sending vibrations that echoed across the valley. Elias could hardly believe it. Their combined efforts had worked. But there was no time to celebrate. More drones were approaching, faster and in larger numbers. Elias realized that the Zerak had learned from the first encounter. They were adaptive, calculating, dangerous. "We need more than defense," he thought. "We need offense." He explained his plan to Titan and the herd. "We will set a trap. You will draw them into the valley where my devices will interfere with their sensors. Then I will guide you in a coordinated strike." The dragons responded with a series of thought images: readiness, willingness, and trust. Elias felt a surge of determination. Humans were known for cleverness, for finding solutions that others could not anticipate. That cleverness, combined with the dragon's strength and agility, could change the course of this battle. They moved as one toward the valley. Elias's devices hummed softly, blending with the dragon's energy pulses. The drones appeared on the horizon, more numerous than before, their dark shapes cutting across the glowing forests. Elias signaled Titan. The dragons dived, weaving through the valley, creating patterns of light and energy that disoriented the Zerak. The drones struggled to maintain formation, their sensors misfiring. Elias guided each move, calculating timing, distance, and energy pulses with precision. One drone attempted to flank them, moving toward the ridge where Elias had positioned additional devices. He quickly activated a pulse, and the drone faltered, veering off course. A dragon swooped in, knocking it aside with a powerful tail strike. Another drone attempted a frontal attack, but was met with a synchronized blast of energy, amplified by the dragon's own output. Elias's heart raced as he saw his plan unfold in real time. He had never commanded anything like this before, yet every decision mattered. Every calculation, every adjustment had immediate consequences. And it was working. Hours passed, though it felt like minutes. The drones, confused and battered, began to retreat. The dragons pursued them just far enough to ensure they would not return soon. When the valley finally fell silent, Elias collapsed to his knees, exhausted but elated. Titan landed beside him, nudging him gently. Elias smiled, pressing a hand against its scaled cheek. "We did it. Together." The dragon's energy began to stabilize, glowing brighter as if relieved of a heavy burden. Elias knew this was only the beginning. The Zerak would return, more cautious, more prepared. But for the first time, he felt confident that humans and dragons could fight together, their strengths complementing one another in ways neither species could achieve alone. That evening, Elias worked with the dragons to reinforce their defenses. He created mobile energy nodes, small devices that the dragons could carry, which would confuse drones on approach. The dragons adapted quickly, understanding the basic idea and integrating it into their flight patterns. Lyra, a smaller dragon with silver-blue scales, approached him. Her eyes held curiosity, and Elias could feel her thoughts. "You are different. You are small, yet powerful." He smiled. "It's not size. It's thinking, Lyra, and together we can protect your home." The herd gathered around, wings folding protectively, as if acknowledging Elias as part of their family. The connection was deepening, a bond formed not just by survival, but by trust and mutual respect. That night, as Elias sat beneath a glowing tree, he thought about the human settlements on Drakkara. They were small and vulnerable compared to the dragons, but humans had a quality that could tip the balance in this war: unpredictability. The Zerak had expected simple targets, creatures that relied solely on strength. They had not anticipated cleverness, strategy, and alliance between species. Elias knew that his role was far from over. The Zerak would adapt and they would be dangerous next time. But he also knew that dragons could adapt too, especially with humans at their side. He closed his eyes and let himself feel the energy around him, the hum of life in the planet, the pulse of the dragon's presence, and the spark of something new: hope. Somewhere, deep in the forests, Elias sensed movement, faint but deliberate. It was not a drone, not yet. The Zerak were observing, learning, and planning their next move. He felt a thrill of anticipation, knowing that the next encounter would test all of their abilities. But he also felt a strange confidence. Humans were not just survivors. They were thinkers, innovators, allies. And with dragons at his side, Elias Trent knew they could face anything. The stars rose above Drakkara, twin moons casting silver light across the forests and rivers. Elias looked out over the valley, feeling the weight of responsibility, but also the exhilaration of possibility. Together, humans and dragons had turned the tide once, and together they could do it again. As he drifted into a restless sleep, images of the Zerak flashed in his mind, strange and alien, but no longer terrifying. He had learned that fear could be managed, calculated, and even turned into an advantage. And he had learned something more: that courage, intelligence, and determination, even from one human, could change the fate of a planet. Tomorrow, the real work would begin. But tonight, Elias Trent allowed himself a rare moment of peace, surrounded by dragons who trusted him, and a world that seemed, just for a little while, full of hope. Elias Trent woke to the hum of the dragon's energy flowing through the valley. The morning light bathed Drakkara in green-gold hues, making the floating mountains shine like jewels. The quiet calm was deceptive. He had learned from the first battles that the Zerak never rested. They studied, adapted, and returned stronger. He rose quickly, checking the devices he had placed the night before. They were still functioning perfectly, blending with the dragon's natural energy. Titan and the rest of the herd circled above, waiting for his signal. Elias could feel their anticipation, their readiness for the confrontation that was coming. He ran simulations in his mind, calculating the best ways to lure the Zerak into a trap while minimizing danger to the dragons. A sudden vibration ran through the valley floor. Elias froze. It was not the familiar rhythm of dragon wings. He looked up and saw them, Zerak drones moving in tighter formation, faster and more numerous than before. Their dark metallic bodies shimmered with energy as they descended, scanning for life. Elias felt the familiar rush of adrenaline. The moment of trial had arrived. "Follow my lead," he projected to Titan and the herd. "We fight together, and we strike smart." The dragons responded immediately, diving into formation. Elias directed their movements, using signals, energy pulses, and mental images to guide them. His devices amplified their energy, projecting interference fields that confused the drone's sensors. At first, the Zerak hesitated, their adaptive technology struggling to process the unexpected coordination. Elias's heart raced. The first wave of their plan was working. But the Zerak were not so easily defeated. One of the larger drones split from the formation, moving with alarming speed toward the ridge where Elias had set a network of energy nodes. He activated a pulse just in time, but the drone staggered only slightly. Elias realized that these drones were learning mid-flight, adapting to the energy interference. He turned to the dragons. "We need to adjust. Lyra, take the lead and redirect the main force toward the valley." Lyra, the silver-blue dragon, surged forward, wings cutting the air with precision. She emitted a synchronized energy pulse, creating a path of interference that disoriented several of the pursuing drones. Elias guided Titan and the others, coordinating their strikes with bursts of human-engineered energy that amplified the dragon's natural power. The drones faltered. One collided with a tree. Another misfired its energy beam and retreated, confused. Elias's plan was taking shape perfectly. The valley itself became a battlefield, alive with the glow of dragon energy and the pulsing lights of his devices. But just as victory seemed near, Elias detected a change. A massive shadow moved above the forest, a drone unlike any they had encountered. It was enormous, shaped like a spinning crystal with multiple energy cores, and it pulsed with a terrifying, unnatural light. The Zirak's secret weapon had arrived. Elias felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. The smaller drones were dangerous, but this one had the potential to destroy the entire valley, and possibly the planet. He quickly analyzed its energy signature. It feeds on the planet's core energy. If it reaches the valley's heart, everything dies. Titan, Lyra. "Everyone! We must stop it before it reaches the center," he projected urgently. The dragons roared in unison, surging forward. Elias guided them carefully, using his devices to amplify their energy and project interference fields. Lyra darted under the massive drone, distracting it while Titan and the others attacked from the sides. The creature adapted quickly, spinning and firing beams of energy that shook the trees and scorched the ground. Elias realized he had only one chance. He activated a series of coordinated pulses, creating a pattern that the drone's adaptive systems could not predict. Then he signaled Lyra to carry him close to the drone's core. Her massive wings beat powerfully as they approached the spinning crystal. Elias focused all his devices on a single point, calculating energy output, angles, and timing to perfection. The drone reacted instantly, firing beams directly at them. Elias and Lyra weaved through the attacks, the air scorching around them. With a final calculation, Elias redirected all the interference pulses into a concentrated burst, amplified by Lyra's energy. The effect was immediate and devastating. The drone shuddered violently, its spinning cores destabilizing. Titan and the other dragons swooped in, striking with precision. The drone erupted in a blinding flash, and the remaining Zirak forces scattered, retreating into the distance. The valley fell silent, save for the heavy breathing of dragons and the soft hum of Elias's devices. Elias collapsed onto the forest floor, exhausted but exhilarated. He looked around at the dragons, their massive forms silhouetted against the glowing forests, and felt a profound sense of accomplishment. They had faced a threat far greater than themselves, and together, human ingenuity and dragon strength had prevailed. Lyra nudged him gently with her snout, and Elias smiled. "We did it. Together." The dragon's energy stabilized, glowing brighter as they celebrated their victory. Elias walked among them, marveling at their strength, grace, and intelligence. He realized something profound. Humans might be small, fragile creatures, but their minds could rival even the most powerful alien species. The dragons had taught him patience and power, and he had taught them that cleverness and creativity could turn the tide of battle. In the following days, Elias worked with the dragons to fortify the valley. He enhanced their energy fields, created mobile interference nodes, and devised strategies for anticipating Zirak attacks. The dragons learned quickly, integrating his technology into their natural abilities. Each day, their bond strengthened, built on trust, respect, and shared purpose. Elias also explored deeper into Drakkara's forests, studying energy flows and observing the planet's life forms. He discovered that the Zerak had drained not only energy, but also destabilized ecosystems in some regions. He shared this knowledge with the dragons, showing them how they could protect the planet's core energy while maintaining their own strength. One evening, as twin moons rose, Elias sat atop a cliff, watching the dragons soar through the glowing forests. Lyra landed beside him, resting her massive head on his shoulder. He laughed softly, marveling at the absurdity of it. A human sitting atop a cliff, communicating with dragons, guiding them in a battle against an alien threat. It was something no one on Earth would believe, yet it was real, and it was beautiful. Suddenly, Elias's devices picked up a faint rhythmic signal. His eyes widened. The Zerak were not gone. They were regrouping, building something new, something he had not anticipated. His pulse quickened, but he did not panic. He had learned to think under pressure, to improvise, and to adapt. The next challenge would come, and he would meet it with dragons at his side. He turned to Lyra and projected his thoughts. They are coming back. We will be ready. But we need to understand them better. We need to strike before they can build again. Lyra's wings twitched in acknowledgement. Titans circled above, roaring softly. The entire herd seemed to sense Elias's determination, their confidence in him unshakable. Humans were small, but humans could think, plan, and create in ways that no other species could. Elias's mind was their greatest weapon, and together they were unstoppable. Elias spent the night analyzing the signals. He pieced together patterns in the Zerak's technology, identifying weaknesses in their drones and energy harvesting systems. He realized that if they could strike at the right moment, they could disable the Zerak's network entirely, preventing future attacks and securing Drakkara's safety. By morning, Elias had devised a plan. He would lead a small strike team of dragons to the heart of the Zerak's operation, using a combination of human technology and dragon power. The plan was risky, and failure could mean the loss of many lives, but hesitation was not an option. The dragons gathered, wings folding around him protectively. He looked at each of them, seeing trust and courage reflected in their eyes. He took a deep breath, feeling the weight of responsibility, and then projected his thoughts clearly. We strike together. We are strong. We are clever, and we will protect this world. Titan lowered his massive head in acknowledgement. Lyra nudged him gently, and the herd began to move, soaring through the glowing forests toward the distant mountains where the Zerak were building their next device. Elias's heart pounded with anticipation and fear, but he felt no doubt. Humans had faced impossible odds before, and he had learned that intelligence, courage, and creativity could turn the tide of any battle. The journey was long, and the terrain treacherous. Floating mountains, energy streams, and unstable forests challenged their every move. But Elias guided the dragons carefully, avoiding detection while keeping them prepared for any ambush. He marveled at their coordination, their instinctive understanding of strategy, and their trust in him. Finally, they reached the edge of a massive plateau where the Zerak were assembling a new energy harvesting device. It was larger than anything Elias had seen, a towering structure pulsing with unnatural light. The drones patrolled in precise patterns, scanning for intruders. Elias took a deep breath and turned to the dragons. "This is it," he projected. "We strike now, together." The dragons roared in unison, their wings slicing the air, and Elias activated his devices. Pulses of energy raced toward the Zerak, confusing their sensors. The drones faltered, and the dragons surged forward with incredible speed, striking with power and precision. The battle had begun, and Elias felt a thrill unlike any he had ever known. Humans were small, but cleverness, courage, and determination could change the fate of an entire planet. And together with the dragons, he knew they could win. Elias Trent could feel the energy of the dragons vibrating through his body as they approached the Zarak's massive device. The structure loomed like a dark tower in the heart of the plateau, pulsing with unnatural light that seemed to drain life from everything nearby. The smaller drones swarmed around it, patrolling with perfect precision. Elias knew that a direct attack would be suicidal. They needed strategy, timing, and absolute coordination. He turned to Titan, who hovered beside him, wings spread wide, muscles rippling under thick scales. Lyra, silver blue and sleek, brushed her wing against his shoulder as if offering reassurance. Elias projected his thoughts clearly, sending them to the herd. "We are not just strong, we are clever. Follow my lead. Distract, disrupt, strike." The dragons responded instantly, diving into formation. Elias activated his devices, creating interference pulses that radiated through the plateau. The pulses interacted with the dragon's energy, amplifying their natural power and confusing the Zarak drones. Some of the drones faltered, scanning wildly for the source of the disruption. Elias smiled grimly. Their unpredictability was his greatest weapon. He studied the massive device carefully. Its energy cores pulsed rhythmically, almost like a heartbeat. If they could destabilize even one core, the entire structure might collapse, but reaching it would be nearly impossible with the drones defending it. Elias formulated a plan in seconds, a coordinated attack combining dragon agility, human technology, and precise timing. Lyra, Titan, the others, circle wide and draw their attention. I will guide the strike team to the core. The dragons surged forward, wings cutting the air in a blur. The drones reacted immediately, moving to intercept, but the interference pulses distorted their targeting systems. Elias and a small group of dragons flew low, weaving through the drones and approaching the base of the structure. Sparks and energy beams streaked past them, but the dragons moved with incredible precision, their instincts guided by Elias's calculations. He signaled Lyra to move first. She darted close to the core, releasing a concentrated energy pulse from her wings. Elias activated his devices simultaneously, directing a wave of destabilizing energy at the same point. The core shuddered. The drones guarding it reacted too late, their attacks missing by fractions of a second. Titan and the other dragons struck from above, combining physical force with energy attacks. Elias directed every movement, thinking faster than the drones could adapt. He realized that while the Zarak technology was advanced, it could not anticipate the combined intelligence of humans and dragons working together. The structure began to wobble, its core energy fluctuating wildly. Elias's pulse raced as he calculated the next step. We need to take it down completely before it stabilizes again. He signaled Lyra to focus her energy, while Titan and the other dragons created diversions, luring drones away from the critical point. Elias activated a final series of pulses from his devices, precisely timed to disrupt the core's synchronization. The energy surged, crackling through the structure like lightning. The drones scrambled, emitting high-pitched signals in confusion, while the core itself began to fracture. Then came the moment of truth. The massive core, unstable and overcharged, exploded in a blinding flash of light. Shockwaves rippled through the plateau, knocking drones off course and sending them retreating in disarray. Elias and the dragons surged forward, riding the energy waves, dodging falling debris and residual pulses. When the light faded, the Zarak device lay in ruins, a twisted mass of metal and energy. The drones that remained fled into the distance, leaving the plateau silent except for the heavy breathing of dragons and the hum of Elias's devices. Elias landed on the ground, exhausted but triumphant. Titan hovered beside him, nudging him gently with his scaled head. Lyra curled around his legs, her warmth a comforting presence. He looked at the destroyed device and realized something profound. Humans, though small and fragile compared to dragons and alien machines, could change the course of events with intelligence, courage, and creativity. The dragons roared, a sound that reverberated across the plateau and into the forests beyond. Elias smiled. They were celebrating, but also acknowledging him, recognizing the human mind as a force worth respecting. He had not only survived, he had led them to victory. Over the next hours, Elias worked with the dragons to ensure no remnants of the Xerac device could regenerate. He analyzed the fragments, disabling any remaining energy cores and scattering pieces that could be used to rebuild. The dragons assisted, using their energy to stabilize the environment and repair areas that had been damaged by the battle. As evening fell, the plateau was quiet once more. Elias and the dragons gathered at the edge, looking out over Drakkara's glowing forests and rivers. Life was returning to normal, energy flows stabilizing, and the planet's natural brilliance shining through once again. Lyra nudged him and projected a thought that made him laugh softly. "You are clever. Small, yet clever." Elias chuckled, reaching out to stroke her scaled head. "It's not size, Lyra. It's thinking, and courage, and sometimes luck. But mostly, thinking." Titan circled overhead, rumbling deeply, as if acknowledging his words. The other dragons gathered, their eyes reflecting trust, admiration, and something Elias could only describe as respect. Humans had always been underestimated, fragile in body, unpredictable in strength, but they could think, improvise, and lead in ways that few could imagine. Today, that had made all the difference. In the following days, Elias helped the dragons rebuild areas of the plateau that had been damaged during the battle. Forests were restored with energy pulses, rivers stabilized, and energy veins realigned. He also worked on strategies to protect Drakkara from any future Xerac incursions, combining human technology with dragon abilities to create an integrated defense system. The dragons adapted quickly, their natural intelligence amplified by Elias's guidance. They learned new maneuvers, coordinated attacks, and defensive strategies that were faster, more effective, and smarter than anything they had done before. Elias marveled at how well they could integrate his thinking with their instincts, forming a partnership that was greater than the sum of its parts. One night, as the twin moons rose over Drakkara, Elias sat beside Lyra, watching the forests glow softly beneath them. He thought about Earth, about human settlements scattered across the galaxy, and about the possibilities ahead. Humans were small, but they had a power that no weapon, no machine, no alien could match: creativity, courage, and the ability to adapt. He realized that this partnership with the dragons was not just about survival. It was about understanding, trust, and mutual respect between species. Humans and dragons working together could protect Drakkara and maybe even explore new worlds, face new threats, and shape the universe in ways that none could imagine alone. Elias rose, looking out over the plateau. The Xerac were gone, their plans destroyed, at least for now. Drakkara was safe, its energy flowing naturally once again. The dragons roared, echoing across the mountains, a sound of triumph, relief, and newfound alliance. He felt Titan's presence behind him, warm and solid, and Lyra brushing against his side. Together, they had achieved the impossible. Together, they had proven that even a single human could change the fate of a planet when intelligence, courage, and determination were combined with strength and loyalty. As the stars sparkled overhead, Elias projected a thought to the dragons. This is just the beginning. Together, we are stronger than anything that comes. Titan and Lyra responded immediately, their thoughts merging with his in a wave of energy and understanding. The herd circled above, wings cutting through the air in graceful arcs, their roars filling the night. Elias felt a sense of peace he had never known. He was not alone. He was part of something greater, a bond that transcended species and defied the odds. And somewhere, deep in the forests, the faint traces of Xerac energy flickered. But Elias did not fear it. He knew that humans and dragons, working together, could face any threat. Bravery, intelligence, and creativity were more powerful than size, more powerful than machines, more powerful than fear itself. He climbed onto Lyra's back, feeling the strength of her wings beneath him. Titan and the other dragons rose alongside them, soaring into the glowing sky. Elias looked down at Drakkara, its forests and rivers shining with renewed life, and felt a thrill of hope. For the first time, he realized that humans were not just survivors. They were thinkers, leaders, and allies, capable of shaping the fate of entire worlds. The dragons had trusted him, and he had proven worthy. Together they had changed the course of history, and together they would face whatever the universe could throw at them next. The wind rushed past him, carrying the roar of dragons and the pulse of Drakkara's energy. Elias Trent felt alive, powerful in ways he had never imagined. The planet was safe, the Xerac defeated, and a new alliance had been forged, one that would endure for generations. As they soared higher, the stars shining around them and Drakkara glowing below, Elias knew that he had discovered something extraordinary. Courage, intelligence, and determination could change everything, even for the smallest of humans, and that realization would guide him and the dragons into adventures yet to come.